Hey folks, Jeff Gonzalez here with AR15.com. I'm here with Paul.
Hello.
All right, we just came back from an awesome 3-day long-range class provided by Vortex up in Wisconsin. And
it was a blast.
It was an absolute blast. So much of a blast. I'm trying not to sneeze.
Well, folks, what we did is we took a 3-day course with Vortex Long Range 1, 2, and 3 consecutively. The classes don't necessarily need to be taken consecutively. You can take one at a time. We were there for a 3-day stint. Boom. What did we do on day one, Jeff?
Day one was all about, first, we did some intros. Then we worked on zeroing the rifles. Probably the most important thing we did. And I will tell you right now, folks, I really recommend before you go to any shooting class that you really have a good zero. That's like one thing that I would suggest to the viewers. It's like take the time to really dial your rifle in. And then when you're at that class, you're just verifying.
Right.
Simple confirmation only. You're not having to worry about trying to get on paper and get dialed in, and then you're all stressed out for the rest of the class and whatnot.
And exactly, because they're on a timeline.
Yeah.
And if one person, that's just going to affect you through the rest of the day.
We had a couple folks that had difficulty with their equipment, and they took a little bit longer. I think I was on in 6 rounds. Paul, you were what, like 22, 23, somewhere in that? Oh, that's right. You had 3 boxes out. I forgot.
What?
I don't remember. Who keeps count? You had a lot of shooting to get your zero.
Anyway, so not only do we zero, we learned a lot of fundamentals on day one. So it's a great place to start for folks that are just getting started in the long range shooting. One of the things that you can do before is really work on the fundamentals of shooting. I believe the 8-point checklist we were using was from Modern Day Snipers. You guys can check that out.
Yeah.
After that, we kind of get into the ballistics of things, and that was really great because of course you can get a lot of that information online. There's apps for it, but we really did a deep dive on that through the Kestrel, which is kind of like an all-in-one weather station. And what was really interesting to me is how accurate the results were through that.
Yeah.
And then when we went out to shoot, how trued up that data was compared to what we actually, because the app can take into consideration a lot of things, but whether you have a 24-inch barrel, a 16-inch barrel, the wind, the weight of the bullet, like those variables do happen.
Yeah.
And having those instructors there to kind of help us really kind of smooth that out and get our data was awesome, I think.
So another thing that I would encourage viewers is to get familiar with the ballistic calculators.
Right.
If you haven't started studying them, if you're going to get into long range shooting, that is definitely one thing that you can start to do. There's plenty of options. You can do apps, or you can get something as sophisticated and awesome as the Kestrel. I think that was really an eye opener for me, seeing how accurate that was.
Right. No, I didn't even make any adjustments.
No, not
just
at all.
right.
Yeah.
It was just
perfect.
Yeah.
Almost perfect. So that was kind of like what we did on day one. A high note was we pushed out to 1,000.
Right.
Got to bring that up because if you're going to go to a long range class, getting out to that 1,000-yard range is a big deal, and it's fun, and it's reassuring that your gear and equipment and your training is all dialed in. So
yeah, and having an instructor help you to get out, identifying if there are any issues at the 100, and being able to take that out to 1,000 while really getting in and dialing in your data. And if that's your personal rifle and that's the setup you run, you get to go home with, okay, now I know exactly how this combination of internal, external ballistics are going to work together to get me to where I want to be.
Thanks to our sponsor, Spartan Armor Systems, for making this video possible. Spartan Armor Systems is dedicated to providing the best American-made body armor in the industry for civilians, law enforcement, and the military. You can find out more at SpartanArmorSystems.com. Protect what's yours.
Little sidebar on that. One of the things that I try to emphasize to people is you really want to know, when you're zeroing your rifle, you're obviously trying to true up the reticle with the bore, but the other thing you're trying to do is demonstrate marksmanship fundamentals repeatedly, right? Because that only makes your zero that much more accurate. And if you're having a hard time shooting to a sub 1 inch group at 100, you will have a hard time hitting a 10-inch group at 1,000. And that's the snowball effect. If you can't make this little, if you can't meet this little bitty thing at the 100, it's just going to snowball out of control when you get up to 1,000. So that's another thing that I would really encourage shooters to really work on is the fundamentals at 100, dial them in, because when you have those fundamentals and you're able to demonstrate them repeatedly at 100, it's only going to help you get to those bigger ranges.
Right. And so, that kind of covers day one. If you're new to this, or if you're just trying to refine your shooting or get out there, awesome. That's a bit of science, a little bit of data, right? But then we get to day two. We start looking at the windage.
Yeah.
And of course, we did a cold bore start there. We kind of talked about a lot of important data collection, verifying, that group is tight before we got out there. Yeah. But what was really interesting is, of course, wind is not something you can just get exactly down. There's a bit of an art to it. And so I really appreciated that the class kind of did a deep dive on it. Finding out whether you have a 6 or 7 mile an hour gun, how much that wind is going to affect your projectile, and then trying to call that and kind of getting the feedback from the instructors on
Yes. So there's a couple of more detailed points about that. Number one, you said a 6 mile per hour gun. What does that really mean? Well, if you are watching this video and you don't know what that means, that's something that you can do. You can start to explore what is the capabilities of my rifle, and what that means is how much wind is your rifle capable of sustaining before it becomes a problem. The other thing that you said happened to do with the instructors there being able to call your shots and being able to help you get where you needed to be.
Right.
So when we started doing the wind calls, the instructors were doing the wind calls for us, which was super helpful because to them, it's borderline science. For us, it's artwork. It's we're still kind of finger painting and
throwing the paint at the canvas there.
Exactly. These guys are painting a masterpiece of sorts. So wind call is one of those things where you can practice on your own, but really that's one thing. If I had to pick something that you almost need to have a talented instructor to be able to show you what you're doing, that's one of them. That's hard to do on your own.
Exactly, because on your own you're kind of guessing as to why those things happened.
Yes.
Whereas that instructor can say, hey, well, you didn't account for that gully. You didn't see that ridge line there that's preventing the
tree line,
exactly.
or all those other variables that you kind of take for granted. So that was a lot of fun. We also did the spotter shooter drill, which, again, that's difficult to do on your own, but if you have somebody that you can train with, helping you to focus on just shooting, so they focus on the calling of the wind, that's a nice thing. Day three was a lot of fun, and we repeated a drill from day two, and I think this is another drill that viewers can really work on.
Cold bore drill.
Cold bore +4, and so if you don't know what that is, it's basically a target that they have, which is a great target. Just get it. I think they have a PDF file on their website, but you just you shoot your first shot to a cold bore target that's depicted there, and then you shoot 4 more rounds for group size and the relativity of your 100-yard zero there. And so it's nice because you separate those two. As the gun heats up, it's going to change. So they actually account for that with this drill, which is great. So that's something that you can do on your own. You don't have to have that target. You can just shoot at 2 different targets, but it just makes it nice because it's a data point that you can take, put in your folder, and reflect back on down the road. So that's something that you can start to do right now. And taking that information with you to the school is super valuable because now you've got those data points that you're talking about, which just makes their job easier.
That's one of the biggest takeaways of all the 3 days is everything is a data point. Why did I fudge that shot?
Yes.
Data point. Why did I do this? Why did I do that? I forgot to, at one point, re-zero my turret.
At one point?
Okay.
Maybe 2 or 3. Who's
I don't
counting?
know about that.
Who's counting?
But, taking all of that and refining what you're doing was really fantastic.
Absolutely. Day 3, again, I think was the advanced application of a lot of this stuff. So we're diving into advanced ballistics, which is really impressive. It's very data-driven. It's hard to, if you don't have good information, it's hard to understand a lot of that. You can get some good information online. There's some great reference material, some pretty good videos. But again, from the horse's mouth, it's kind of nice. That was really...
the theoretical versus the actual application with instantaneous feedback.
So true.
That's really just helping mold that and reinforce it and understand it and see it and connect those dots.
Yeah.
That's typically the problem I have sometimes is if I got to do some self-reflection or training on my own.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily see it, but when you have someone else to help connect those dots for you,
So true.
it makes a big difference.
And that's the thing I think you get from something like that is the expertise, the experience from those folks that can help kind of like rationalize things that are happening to you so that you can understand those data points or better track your data points in a sense.
Which in case we did, was day 1, right? We shot out to that 1,000 with the help of a spotter.
Yeah.
Day 2, we were our own spotters.
Yeah.
By day 3, we didn't have a spotter behind us. We were making our calls on our own through the optic.
Yeah.
Right. So we just kept continuing to reinforce on those fundamentals and getting a little bit more advanced with it. So day 3 was really fun.
I agree. I had a lot of fun on there. And one of the things I thought was really nice was each class day started the same.
Right.
Started the same with the review of the fundamentals, the checklist. Then we did our dry fire. Then we did our cold bore. It was the same each and every day. And again, it points to the importance behind consistency, repetitiveness. So if you're watching this, that's something that you can start to do is you can start to create your own system that is consistent so that every time you're getting behind the gun, that's one less variable that you have to account for.
Exactly.
Now, day 3 was also interesting because it threw some unique challenges with unconventional positions. It's a little like, again, most of the time we're doing long range shooting, we're doing it from a very stable prone position, and that is awesome.
Or, shooting bench, I think, is for a lot of people.
Bench,
exactly.
Yeah, shooting bench is another good one. But when you start to get in unconventional positions, that's kind of hard to do outside of a shooting school. I mean, most ranges, I suppose, can have some of those apparatuses out there, and you can take away a lot of valuable information from there. Again, one of the most important things that you are reminded is the importance of connection. Connection to the rifle, connection to stability.
All the difference.
All the difference. It's
as simple as we one of the instructors told me the trick of holding my shirt and the stock.
Yeah.
And that just
amazing.
Just that simple thing added a lot of stability, and that's something you guys can do right away.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's crazy, the little details. And again, a lot of this, it depends on your skill level going into it. If you're going into it and you're just beginning your journey on long range shooting, some of the stuff that we've kind of hit on is going to be super valuable. It's also going to help you be successful in the class. And I think that's another, so you can look at it from two ways. What can I do right now to go to the range and start improving my long range shooting? And what can I do to prepare to go to a long range class?
Right.
Best of both worlds here. Any last thoughts? Any other tidbits of information you want to share?
No, I just want to say I had a blast.
Oh, my goodness.
If you can, I would recommend doing all 3 days in a row if you can, because you just get back at it every single day, reinforcing that. You're just really drilling it into your head. However, if you can't, that's fine, because another way to look at it is you can take day 1, take those lessons, go shoot at the range, refine that, go to day 2. If that's your pace or that's your availability, that's fine. I think training is important. Adding into that, if you're interested, shooting sports.
Yeah.
That's going to also test you and refine that. You may end up actually using more of those unconventional shooting positions in a match, right? Another thing that's really awesome. And lastly, I just want to thank the folks at Vortex.
Oh, my gosh.
If we didn't really, we shot at the 1,000 yards, so we were outdoor, but their indoor facility was exceptionally nice. We travel a lot. We see a lot of indoor ranges, right? But
it's like,
I was expecting to go through and go,
Yeah. The capabilities of that facility were actually not what I expected.
Yeah.
Very impressed. So, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of, if you're in that local vicinity and can take advantage of what they offer there, because they offer other things other than long range.
Right.
That's something else that a lot of, you associate Vortex with long range shooting only, but they do a lot of other things.
I think they cover
the gamut.
Everything.
Absolutely.
So, long range, it's awesome. 8 people per class max.
Yeah.
And I believe we had up to 6 instructors present at some point.
Big
so
instructor ratio.
Really great hands-on learning experience.
For sure.
At a great facility. I think it was, I recommend it for anyone that's interested.
Absolutely. I second that. I want to say thank you to all the folks there, Cody, Corey, Justin, everybody else that helped us to be as successful as we were in that class. If you can break away to take that class to improve your long-range shooting skills, you will not be disappointed. It's fantastic. Again, taking the material that we just relayed to you in this video will help you to be set up for success in that class. But again, you could also just show up with a blank slate and get it on.
Right.
If you want to learn more, where can they go to learn more about?
VortexOptics.com.
There you go. All right, folks, I'm Jeff. That's Paul. We had a great time. Thank you again. Until then, take care and stay safe.